Hello, Christian Life Church. We have a very exciting little bit of content for you today. Following up to last week's message, what coronavirus is teaching us about relationships, we have an interview that Pastor Jim filmed with Terence Rolston, a Focus on the Family Canada. He is the president there, and he's just going to share a little bit about what they're doing in this time and how this is affecting relationships in Canada and in families across the nation. So we hope you enjoy it. Just about 30 minutes long, and it's just packed full of good information and things to think about following Pastor Jim's message. We hope you enjoy.
Terence, as we're talking about Focus's response to the current situation that we're all in with COVID-19 and that, how has Focus and the family responded to this crisis? How have you responded to this crisis in your work, in your home, and your family? How have you kind of, balance is a tough thing, eh?
Yes.
How do you find yourself responding?
Well, it became apparent to us as a ministry, but I think to every family, things changed overnight. And so we have been working really hard to the best of our ability to provide guidance and tools to families to help them through this time. And not just a crisis-only mentality by any stretch, but in ways that can actually seize the moment that is now available to us through either social isolation or, in some respects, that more intimate time, because we're spending more time together, to work on our relationships. Maybe there have been some fissures or some unresolved issues that now we might actually have the time to discuss and deal with, rather than let them go on any further. Or if there's a broken relationship outside of the home, use Zoom like we're doing this, and reach out to them and maybe bend the bond that has been either broken or maybe at least grown cold. So we have done that through providing a lot of free resources out to families. We have thought that we recognize, along with all of the nation and the world, that lots of folks have lost jobs, lots of folks are uncertain about their incomes. And so we really thought, we just want to be available. We want to get free resources out there. So we have this streaming service called Focus at Home, with the app symbol, that you can just stream a bunch of things right into your living room or on your computer TV, if you've got a smart TV, and just be learning together and spending quality time together. We have made our Adventures in Odyssey online club free for a month to families, and that makes all those Adventures in Odyssey programs that were a lifeline to you in your car available now at home. And just I saw a picture just this week of a young lad, I think he's 5 years old, sitting in the garden playing with his truck or a shovel, I can't remember what it was, big headphones on, listening to Adventures in Odyssey, And so it gives mom and dad the sanity and a little bit of time to focus on work if they're working at home, or just a break from moms and dads doing schoolwork and work and all the laundry and other chores, along with making food, because we can't necessarily go out to eat. And so we've really tried to come alongside families in that way and make resources available. And if I may mention, just outside of the context specifically of families, we work in support of pregnancy centers across the country. We work alongside other organizations and the centers themselves, and the needs on those in those centers have been extreme of late, both in terms of they're all adapting to this new environment, but as critical, lots of mothers with unexpected pregnancies very fearful about what it means right now to bring a child into the world, and whether or not they want or can go to a hospital to deliver their child. And so it's been our blessing, but nonetheless a heart-wrenching exercise of us really trying to come alongside men and women who are on the front lines of serving and needs of moms and children and dads in that way, and helping resource them or encourage them actually a lot, lift up their arms a little bit, help them change routines. If we can design it for one, it works for many, and share ideas. And right through to, you know, we've recognized, and I'm sure you have too, Jim, in your community and everybody online, this is a moment where there's a sense that we're all in it together.
Yeah.
And so we have felt similarly that we feel called to join all of our constituency and all of Canada to an awareness to pray for one another and to express our support for frontline workers and those who are not only responding to the severity of this pandemic in the front lines, but also themselves at risk. And so we joined together with many other ministry leaders to sign a letter of support and ask for prayer across the nation. And so it's a broad breadth of things, but all of that to say, it comes down to this. As a ministry, we feel we're here for such a time as this, and we just want to be available.
Yeah. So you'd be responding to all kinds of different needs. Focus on the Family is one of those ministries where I think people have a great deal of comfort in coming to. And a lot of prayer requests are coming in your way, aren't they?
Volumes of prayer requests, and encouragingly, a great deal in regards to the salvation of family members.
Okay.
And I would say that is a noticeable increase from before the pandemic. As you might expect, a volume of emails regarding grief and family conflict. In fact, our number one issue that we get called about is marital issues. Perhaps not necessarily surprising given the close quarters we're all in. And as I mentioned in my opening comments, if there has been an underlying issue or the tension that could be avoided by one spouse going to one workplace and another spouse going to another or staying home, and now you're together all the time, and there's additional stress, and there's kids driving up the walls maybe at times. They show up. And so I'm so grateful those couples are reaching out to us.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just the annoyance for a lot of sometimes we drive our spouses crazy, and it may not,
yourself, Jim.
you may not have had a troubled marriage going into this, but by the time it's all over with, I'm sure some people will be glad to get back to work. But I would think that,
Jim, if there's a theme that might be in my thoughts in some of the questions that we're all pondering here is, as those stresses show up, my heart to your viewers is this. It's just an opportunity to deal with them now.
Yeah.
You might have actually a little more capacity in the sense of you can reach out to an organization like ours, get some guidance, spend some time together, express your emotions and your concerns to one another, and resolve them for your blessing of each other, but also the strength of your household and the blessing to your kids. And so that'd be my encouragement, to seize the moment. Yeah.
And I'm going way off script here, but I want to really kind of build on what you're saying, and that seize the moment, seize the day was actually a key point in a message I preached a week or two ago. And this really is an opportunity that we have to seize moments in our lives where it seems like everything's finally stopped. And people actually have time to start working on things, don't they? Personal issues, habits, relationships. You still get to drive down the street and see a dad out in the driveway, playing basketball with his kid. What kind of, are you noticing any or hearing much in terms of how this is helped families? You know, I mean, a lot of times we hear the bad things, but are you hearing things about how it's helped families in this crisis?
Without a doubt. We are really encouraged, actually, by the many emails that we get virtually every day from families who have been encouraged by the resources we sent them and wanted to tell us a story, like that picture that I just shared with you was sent to me. I think families, just back to your comment about, or our conversation about the stresses, even in the stress, even if you feel like actually your life at home right now is busier, so you don't feel like you have time because the kids are all there and they're demanding your attention, or both of you are working from home and it's a little more complicated to get the groceries and all those things. I do think what is universally true is people are really recognizing how important family is and how much they want a strong and good relationship with their spouse and those are closest to them. And so even if it's not a time incentive, I think there's an opportunity because both of you are probably feeling likewise, and therefore you're going to be motivated, if not initially it's easy, to deal with those things at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the types of stories we're saying is hearing as that was helpful. We moved forward. My spouse is willing to get some help. Can you help me? I realize I'm the problem.
Yeah.
Will you help me? And I think people are self-realizing and being circumspect enough to say, I want to improve this. I want to do better.
Yeah.
And when my child is listening to Adventures in Honesty, I'm encouraged, and thank you for reminding me of how important it is to build faith in my children.
Yeah.
Right to I'm tired of watching all the Netflix things, and so to watch something meaningful is so helpful. We're going to do that. Yeah. And those are the positives that come out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, I mean, all of a sudden we're dealing with whole new normals. And as we kind of adjust to this, societal changes that are taking place right now, how much do you think we're going to go back to, like from the family perspective, and how much of these new changes and new developments, or us being at home and closer and everything, how much of that do you think families are going to opt to say, we don't want to go back to the old way? We kind of like some of this stuff that, you know, that we've been learning and doing. What do you foresee there? Do you think there's going to be a full on going back, or we're going to hang on to some of this newfound freedom with the families?
I think realistically it's a blend, but my optimism is that if we respond well in the moment where we're at right now, the greater likelihood that some of those positives that we are longing for that have been reawakened in our mind and hearts can be more ingrained and a greater priority and a commitment for us and a conviction for us following the crisis. But I think we have to intentionally choose that. Now, my contrast to that would be, I think we realize that when crises happen, there are also some crises responses. So for instance, when we feel an immediate loss, there's a grief and it's shared. And we've been through that as a nation, especially with this mass shooting and compounding the already significant feeling of loss and sorrow. That in that moment, we are motivated and just naturally have a shared concern for others, a compassion for others. If we take away that moment, will it be as fervent afterwards? Logically, probably not. But maybe, again, if we reflect on how we responded and how we all felt when everybody was banging their pots and pans and blowing whistles at 7 o'clock, and how good it felt to actually honor truck drivers.
Yeah.
Because we've just all taken them for granted. I mean, it was a natural, in some respects, to honor the healthcare workers, and they do deserve that honor. They're at risk as well as at the front line. But somehow we've been able to also embrace some of the folks that have been marginalized. And I hope, again, that if we just let that sink in, we won't walk by people like that in the same way after the fact and not pay attention to them. Our elderly.
Yeah.
All of us have been just, sorry about that, there's a phone call in the background. All of us have been impacted by the tragedy of the loss in the care homes.
Yeah.
And do I believe that there'll be a higher standards, a greater commitment to the care in health? I do. I really believe that there will be a concerted effort to come alongside our healthcare workers and those centers to provide the level of care our seniors need.
Yeah.
So those things I'm very hopeful for.
Yeah.
But I would say again, from a spiritual point of view, along with a values point of view, we do well to reinforce what is happening in our mind now so we have the greatest chance for those values, that spiritual fervency, that priority of family, that compassion that we've been expressing one to another, that sense of unity that we care for each other, and we're in some respects aware of what's going on in our nation and our world, not just in our own lives.
Right.
I think if we respond well now, there's a better chance those can change our future.
Yeah. It's interesting too. One of the things that some people have clued into a little bit is, we all hear these stories about a senior in the nursing home who never gets a visit, so they don't get out, they don't get visits. And all of a sudden, every other generation is locked in their home. And it's certainly causing a lot of people to be a little more cognizant of those who are shut in on a permanent basis. This is their life until it's over. And I hope that one of the outcomes is we're addressing some of that loneliness for a lot of our people, that life isn't going to change after this for them. This is what it is. So maybe a little.
I would agree. I think certainly all of us being in self-isolation have realized what it is, if nothing else, to be confined, but certainly to not have the ability to simply connect physically with somebody where we long to do it. Yeah. And those in isolation, those who are elderly, those who are lonely, those who are widowed, that can be their regular occurrence.
Yeah.
And so I do hope, like you, Jim, that there's an outpouring of compassion always, ongoingly, for those who are in those circumstances, just as wanting and desirous to be in relationship as we are, and we will respond and help bring that to them.
Yeah. The other thing I've certainly seen too, Terence, is how much we as people love relationships and maybe have taken them for granted, and how much we enjoy that physical contact. This social distancing thing is so foreign to us. I had a phone call this morning from an 86-year-old lady in the church. She's the sweetest little lady that you'll ever meet. Her name is Beatrice. And she says, "Pastor Jim, I'm so sorry. But," she says, "when we get back to church," she says, "I can't be a front door greeter anymore." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I can't not hug people." She said, if I can't hug people, I can't be a greeter. And that's certainly been, I think, something that maybe you could speak to that. But you think there's going to be a higher value on relationship and a greater appreciation for family and friends and that than maybe we took for granted before?
I certainly hope so, Jim. I don't think it's a hyperbole to say that we were on a trajectory of a great deal of self-focus as a world, especially in North America, maybe developed countries especially, where it was all about us as individuals, what we wanted, what our itinerary, our independence. And we've realized we need each other in new ways. And so I do believe that this is an awakening of significant proportion that could really change a trajectory, if not for everybody, certainly a lot of folks, if we receive this testing that we're in, and allow God to change our hearts the way He's desiring to change our hearts. And so there's got to be a surrender to that to some degree. There's got to be a willingness outside of just the pain and the furnace that we're currently in with the pandemic. But I think the way, like we know in life that God has designed for us, if we positively reinforce those things that are good for us, and we recognize why God designed them the way He did, I think we can go deep and dig deep to have a commitment to keep it going. And so I do remain optimistic and hopeful, and I certainly would hope that people of faith would have a renewed conviction to sharing the values that have been shared with us through Christ Jesus in Scripture, because it's those values that we're seeing are coming to the fore right now. Caring, sacrifice, compassion, steadfastness, relationship, faith. I think there's this general sense that people are searching for answers, because I think the future does feel a little more uncertain right now, if not vastly different. And so naturally, everyone's saying, well, what does this mean for me? And where is God in this? And how does my perspective on my beliefs and my faith, if I have one, inform my actions going forward? And so I really believe that God is stirring our hearts and our spirits to look to Him and to read His Bible, His Word, because I think we find in there these things: love one another, care for one another, have compassion for one another, kindness to one another, long suffering, relationship, care for the elderly, look after the young, support life.
Yeah.
And so I just think there can be a renewed almost courage in our hearts and boldness to say, I actually think those around us who I haven't talked to maybe in a while want to hear that from me.
Yeah.
So let's share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for those of you who tuned in later on in this interview, I've been talking with Terence Rolston, the president of Focus on the Family Canada. And Terence, I want to say that I appreciate you as a brother and as a friend and as a partner in ministry. And we really appreciate Focus on the Family and what you're doing for the Canadian family in a real time of need and crisis. You guys have stepped up to the plate. You've been present. I've been getting the emails and the mail and whatnot. And you just, you guys have just put your shoulder to the plow and have leaned into the crisis that the Canadian family's been plunged into. And we appreciate you. And for those of you who are listening and watching, I encourage you to pray for Terence as he leads this. It's a big ministry. It's a lot of responsibility. And pray for his team. It's a difficult thing for a larger team to have to work remotely. It just presents challenges of its own. So I encourage you to be praying for Focus on the Family as well as they're praying for you. And if you have if you have any interest in accessing any resources, Terence, what's your email or your website address? And maybe let everybody know how they can get in touch with Focus.
Thanks, Jim. It's simply focusonthefamily.ca. And it's as easy as that, focusonthefamily.ca. And we really do want to help you. We want to strengthen, we want to provide these resources for you and your family. So please don't hesitate. And can I just say that if there are a listener or more, a viewer or more who are struggling, we do have free available counseling services and other things too that are available in a moment of crisis as well. And so please don't hesitate, reach out. We want to help you as much as you're compassionately feeling a desire to help others. We're certainly of like heart. And Jim, can I also say thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. Although I'm sitting here in Steveston, British Columbia in my living room, and you're at home there in Winnipeg, Manitoba, I feel like we're having a chat over a cup of coffee. That's been a real treat. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Terence. And I really appreciate you taking the time to just to chat with us. And until we meet again,
we'll see you soon, Lord. Take care, everybody.